Everybody, Jimmy Smith. This time talking not just about the X's and O's of Israel Adesanya versus Dricus Du Plessis. I will do my pre-fight breakdown on Friday like I always do. I'm in Vegas, calling ADCC, by the way, Abu Dhabi. Huge submission tournament. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm in Vegas from Friday to Monday, but I should have it done and be ready for Friday. But what I want to talk about beforehand isn't the X's and O's, isn't who I think is going to win, isn't the fight breakdown necessarily, but the bad blood between Dricus Du Plessis and Israel Adesanya. My worry a lot of times with stuff like this, right, the kind of bad blood they have, I don't like it when it gets super ugly because, Dana White has said, guys say what they say. That's not our problem. We're not going to rein anybody in. So when you have a situation or a difficulty or a beef between fighters that can get super ugly, a lot of times it just flares out of control and things get really crazy. So I'm not that worried about that with these two guys because they've been around the block. This isn't the first time. They'll try to get under one another's skin a bit. I think the people around in the MMA universe, in a sense, might make it uglier than the two fighters are going to. I think they're pros. I don't think they're going to do anything stupid. But the heart of their issue is obviously something very, very sensitive because around colonization and race and a bunch of, very hot button issues in our society. So the idea of Dricus Du Plessis is African, lives in Africa, speaks Afrikaans, from South Africa, has lived there his whole life, and Israel Adesanya is Nigerian and lives in Australia, and then who's more African in a sense, right? And Israel Adesanya, of course, taken issue with Dricus Du Plessis' claims to be more African than Israel Adesanya, who's African by blood but has lived in Australia. What it boils down to me, in my opinion, if I can kind of synthesize it down, is there's a huge difference between being something and being treated like something. And I think the heart of the issue, if it could be verbalized by Israel Adesanya, is I've had to deal with being African my whole life. If you don't start talking, people have no idea you're from Africa. People know I'm from Africa a mile away, and I've had to deal with that my entire life. It's very different than saying you're African, which he is. Dricus Du Plessis is born in Africa, speaks the language, knows the culture, all this stuff. But I've been treated like an African my whole life. And there's a huge difference and disparity there, obviously. Israel Adesanya isn't just African. He is Nigerian. A good friend of mine for years and years and years, Nigerian. If you know Nigerians, he's almost, if you said, where is Israel Adesanya from? You'd say Nigeria. Tall, lean, is almost stereotypically he's built Nigerian. And it's immediately you know he's Nigerian. Dricus Du Plessis, as long as he doesn't talk, you have no idea. And if he does talk, most people don't know a South African accent from any other accent. No idea. So every time I travel, and I've been all over the world, people know I'm American from a mile away. My family by blood is German and Greek. I've been to Greece, I've been to Germany. Guess what? I don't look like either one of them. I was in Germany. I look German. For an American, I look German. Not in Germany, I don't look German. I was around a bunch of guys that are 6 feet tall, looks like they've never seen the sun. I'm way darker than a German, even though I'm not dark, for an American. It's these things that when I travel, people go, American. I can say all day, no, my mother's Greek and, I'm half German, right? So, not in Germany, I'm not. It's this idea that I'm not treated like a German or a Greek. I'm treated like an American because I look American. It's obvious I'm an American. And so I'm treated immediately like I'm not from there. I'm not, but it doesn't matter what my blood says, what I put to my birth certificate, my grandmother's German name, I can show my birth certificate. It doesn't make any difference. So that's, I think, the heart of this issue. When you boil it down, is he goes, I'm from Africa, I speak African, but even though Izzy's lived in Australia, hey, people treat me like an African everywhere I go because I look African and you don't. You don't know what it's like to have to carry that around with you. But I do get Dricus Du Plessis' point of when it comes to the land and the culture and the language and everything, hey, I still speak Afrikaans. I still live there. I didn't leave for my career or anything else. Obviously, there's the uglier side of the colonial history of South Africa. Not going to walk you through the history lesson, but you study your history, which I had to. I have a degree in it. I recommend, by the way, The Ghost of King Leopold. Have a strong stomach if you want to read that book. So there's a long history, obviously, the Belgians in the Congo, of course, the Dutch and the British in South Africa, the Boer War. I could go on and on and on. But my point is, this is within human memory, to say the least. Apartheid ended in South Africa. I'm in high school. It had been a pariah state my whole life. I don't know how many people watching this remember that. When I was a kid, you couldn't have a concert in South Africa. South Africa couldn't go to the Olympics. South Africa was like its own pariah state that did its own thing, wasn't allowed to do anything because they had apartheid. They had racial segregation, and the international community just kicked them out, essentially. So this wasn't a long time ago. I was in high school when the apartheid system collapsed. And these wounds are very, very fresh to not only a South African, but an African period. These wounds are very, very fresh. So that's what it boils down to is, yes, Dricus Du Plessis is African. But Israel Adesanya's point, which is twofold, is, you're only African because people, your skin color, took the land from people of my skin color. The second thing is, I'm treated like an African everywhere, and you're not. Valid points all around, depending on whose side you're on and all this stuff. But the other side of it, when it comes to the fight itself, who does bad blood favor, right? There are certain people who need bad blood. Every fight is bad blood to certain people. The Diaz brothers. Every fight is bad blood. Every fight is personal. Every fight is mean mugging. Every fight is getting in somebody's face. They need that bad blood to get to that headspace of fighting. It's not a professional exercise to them. It's a fight. I don't like you. You don't like me. If their headspace doesn't get there, they don't fight well. Certain people are like that. Other people, Cowboy Cerrone is a great example. I was talking to Duke Rufus one time about, I think it was Duke Rufus, about when Anthony Pettis fought him. And he said, don't be his buddy. He likes it when whoever he's fighting is his buddy. Don't be his buddy. Get in his face. Don't warm up to the guy. Don't be nice to the guy. And he wasn't, and Cowboy didn't fight well, and Cowboy got beat up. Nate Diaz, same thing, flipping him off in the middle of the fight. It threw off Cowboy. Some fighters need that. Izzy doesn't. Neither does Dricus Du Plessis. They may like it. It may sell tickets. It may do all this stuff. Dricus Du Plessis does play the heel a little bit. He didn't have a personal problem with Robert Whittaker. Knocked him out. Right? I mean, he doesn't need it every time. Once again, like the Diaz brothers, who always need to mentally get. A lot of fighters do. Conor McGregor tends to make every fight personal. Dricus Du Plessis can play the heel a little bit. He doesn't need to make every fight personal. Izzy doesn't, but we do have a history of people getting under his skin or giving him extra motivation and it not working out for him. Paulo Costa worked really hard to make the fight with Izzy personal, and Izzy crushed him, one of the best performances of his career. We all remember, bam, humping him in the back after the fight, all that stuff. We remember he made it personal. He paid the price. Now, Alex Pereira didn't necessarily make the fight personal to Izzy. Didn't, not a lot of insults traded. I think they had a lot of respect for one another because they had fought so many times. But the idea of, I need to win this, I think took the fight to a personal place for Izzy the last time around, right? So which was their rematch in MMA. And he knocked him out. So we do have a history of, look, if you make a fight super personal with him, he'll generally make you pay. Now, did he like Sean Strickland? No, he did not. Sean Strickland versus Izzy was one of those fights where it isn't one of those where, man, he just had a good night, and if they fought 10 times, he'd beat him 9 times. Sean Strickland has a tough style that's really difficult to deal with, and it's funky and weird. I do believe Izzy had an off night, but Sean just has a really tricky style that can be tough to deal with. Now, I don't know who I'd favor in a rematch. It may just be that style is Izzy's kryptonite. You box a brawler, you brawl a boxer. And I believe that Sean Strickland kind of knows when to do one or the other, because he is a pretty decent technical boxer, but he also knows when to brawl. And I think that shifting gears all the time kind of screwed Izzy up, and the range of the fight screwed him up. I believe his style might be the kryptonite for Izzy. But I don't think it was about the personal back and forth, effed Izzy's head up. I don't believe that. I think, the style was the problem, not necessarily the bad blood. So who does the bad blood favor? Dricus Du Plessis is more used to it, but Izzy's had those moments when it has gotten personal. He's done very well for the most part. It's about where Izzy is in his career. former champion, done it all, beat his biggest rival, Alex Pereira, who was always his kryptonite, was able to knock him out. I think he might need this bad blood to get to that next level. A lot of the times, when a fighter wins a world title, something just gets taken out of them. They've worked their whole life to get to this one place. They get there, and then they kind of go, world champion, well, this is what I wanted my whole life. Where do I go from here? And unless they want to be the greatest of all time, they want to be the legacy fighter, #1 pound-for-pound guy ever, unless they find that second level of motivation, it's hard to keep a title. When everybody you're fighting is totally motivated, maybe you're not going to be champion that long. So Izzy, having climbed the mountain the way he has, multiple-time champion at 185, right now I put him second all-time behind Anderson Silva. Where do you find the motivation? You find it in a guy that you don't like. In a guy who, because of even the nationalistic, racial undertones of everything we're talking about, that I talked about earlier, has made this a little more personal than it should be. That's going to take me to that next level. I think bad blood, in this case, helps Izzy, which is weird because usually the technicians aren't helped by bad blood. If you're technically really sound, your technique is good. It's more about the nuts and bolts of, speed and endurance and timing and all that stuff, right? Brawlers who come in there and throw heavy leather and all that stuff aren't that technical. Sometimes having that emotional edge is the one thing that puts him over the top. Izzy's not that guy. This is kind of the exception to the rule. I do believe that because of where he is in his career, Izzy might need that fifth gear of kind of that emotional charge to get him up, get him motivated, get him doing his road work, get him doing that sparring, all the stuff that's really, really important leading up to a fight. It might need that personal edge to get him there. We'll see. I'll do my fight breakdown on Friday, just talking about the bad blood. It's going to lead to an excellent fight. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'll talk to you soon.